By August 1950, the U.S. 8th Army had its back against a wall. It had been pushed to within 65 miles of Busan and Korea's southern shore. The last real natural barrier before Busan was the Naktung River. A strong stand there would be crucial. But the UN line was dangerously shaky. A division of 3,600 men can comfortably defend a front the length of 100 football fields. But along the Naktung, single battalions of 400 men were covering 150 football fields. Compounding the manpower shortage was a phenomenon known as the bug out. In 6 short weeks, these men had gone from relaxing peacetime duties to the carnage of the front lines. Thousands had nervous breakdowns. This infuriated General Walton Walker, the field commander of the 8th Army, who reported directly to General MacArthur. Walker had been one of Patton's corps commanders in World War II. He was a no-nonsense Texan who didn't mince words. On July 29th, he issued a stand-or-die order. He told his subordinates, "If I ever see you back here again, it had better be in a coffin." Walker's troops faced hostility no matter which way they turned. They had to rely on their only advantage, firepower, to keep them alive. Along the southwest shore of the perimeter, U.S. Marines headed off a hard communist charge. Overhead, Marine corsairs tore up the enemy line, destroying vehicles and supply lines. But north of there, a U.S. Army battalion was being ripped apart. North Korean tanks rushed down from the hills and launched a concentrated attack from point-blank range. The Americans lost all of their equipment, suffered 160 casualties, and were quickly overrun. The battleground was nicknamed Bloody Gulch. Further upstream, the Communists found a gap in the UN line and exploited it. During the night, they crossed the Naktung and easily captured No Name Ridge. The ridge ran straight south toward Busan, and unless the North Koreans were driven back quickly, the whole perimeter could fall. The Americans struck back hard. For 2 weeks, the battle raged on. The same hills were won and lost dozens of times. Punch-drunk infantrymen fought with everything they had. Air attacks rained down on the Communists.
After the firefight, the American airstrikes hit the North Koreans on either side of the river. The North Koreans were screaming. We heard them, and we were a mile or more away. Floyd Atkins, B Company.
The river line was eventually restored, and the North Koreans fell back to lick their wounds. The red tide had been halted for the first time. By mid-August, the United Nations had built up enough manpower to level the playing field. Units arrived through the port of Busan from nations as diverse as France, Turkey, Thailand, and Ethiopia. The British Commonwealth forces, drawing men from Great Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, were also important contributors. Most of these men were too young for World War II. They were eager to make their own mark on this new battlefield, but few of them could comprehend the harsh realities of war that awaited them. American troops in particular showed a brash confidence coming off the boat.
Busan was like being in a college town on homecoming Saturday. The kids were terrific. They didn't walk off the dock, they swaggered off. Their attitude said, "Don't worry about it, the Marines are here." Second Lieutenant Tom Gibson.
Among those arriving were thousands of black recruits. Unlike their predecessors in previous wars, they would serve in mixed units, fighting alongside white troops for the first time. And while most branches of the military still practiced segregation in 1950, the demand for fresh soldiers was immediate, and units were filled on a first-come, first-sent basis, regardless of race. Mixed units cooperated well on the hills of Korea, whether in the midst of combat or campfire sing-alongs. But on September 1st, 1950, all attention turned to the enemy, who launched a final offensive all around the wall of the perimeter. The Communists limped forward with exhausted men and a broken supply line, but they were fought out and couldn't sustain the drive. Now they were losing the race against time. The moment was right for the United Nations to strike back, and General MacArthur knew just where to do it.